Before we begin, please be advised that viewer discretion is strongly recommended. None of the content presented here has been exaggerated or taken out of context. These are the exact statements made by the prosecution team, defense team, Agent Gannon, Dr. Hughes, and Kaplan in a federal court on May 21st, 2025. Some words have been censored to comply with YouTube's guidelines. What you're about to hear is a voiced-over reading of Agent Gannon, Dr. Hughes, and Kaplan's testimony from the Sean Diddy Combs trial. Source: courtroom reporter at Intercity Press on X.com. All parties are presumed innocent until proven guilty. Listen at your own discretion. What you're about to hear is Agent Gannon, Dr. Hughes, and Kaplan's testimony from beginning to end.
Mr. Gannon, let's continue with items you seized on Star Island GX215. What is this?
High heels and sex items in the master closet.
What's this?
3 cell phones found in one of the boots.
Display the Gucci bag for the jury? Pull up GX10A and the stipulation. Zoom in on paragraph 5. A white plastic bottle. It contained liquid residue of meth and liquid MDMA. These pills were found with a Tesla imprint on them. These had the active ingredient in Xanax. This $100 bill had residue of cocaine. Mr. Gannon, what's this?
A dark wood box with the word puffy on the top.
How do you know that this is the Astroglide and the baby oil that you seized? How many bottles of each?
31 Astroglide, 25 baby oil bottles.
Any other cell phones found?
Yes.
Was a gun found in this suitcase?
A .45.
Hold the bullets up for the jury. No further questions.
The day of the search, you knew that Mr. Combs was leaving the country with his twin daughters.
At this moment, the prosecution asked for a sidebar. Then they continued.
In planning the search, you knew that none of the targets of the investigation would be there.
At this moment, the prosecution objected but was overruled.
The plan was to have him not there, but we had contingencies.
What type of vehicles did you use?
Armored vehicle.
And a boat come in by land and by sea?
It's common practice.
80 or 90 agents?
Not all at the same time.
You found 6 people and kept them in handcuffs for an hour.
No, ma'am. There was one individual who wasn't happy with us and wasn't cooperating, so we kept him in handcuffs longer.
Because he wasn't happy with cuffs? There was a music studio in the guest house, right? DX305. Do you recognize this?
Yes, ma'am. It's the studio.
Move to admit. The gun was wrapped in a towel. It didn't look like how you displayed it to the jury yesterday, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you find any photos of Mr. Combs with these firearms?
We did not.
Do you agree that handguns, metal, is easier to get fingerprint than maybe another type of device?
Can't say if it's easier, but it can be done.
Can you get prints off a gun easier when it's inside?
I think so.
At HSI, you have Mr. Combs' DNA, right?
I don't know.
When he was arrested, the government took DNA swab, right?
I don't know.
Hold up the Gucci bag. The drugs were in this bag and in the puffy box, right?
Yes.
Your Honor, I am going to introduce a sealed exhibit with the help of IT. May I approach the witness?
At this moment, the defense approached the witness, and the prosecution said to cut off the screens. So the gallery wasn't able to see this, but the defense said,
Please don't say the names of the people in this photograph other than my client. Don't talk about it.
Then the prosecution asked to confer with the counsel. They did. Then the deputy said, we may take the sealed exhibit down, and they continued.
Agent Gannon, you live in Florida. Don't many people have guns in their homes there?
At this moment, the prosecution objected, and the judge told the defense to rephrase the question.
Do you have guns in your home?
Yes.
No further questions.
The government calls Dr. Dawn Hughes. What is your profession?
Clinical and forensic psychology. I treated people who were in World War II, which was such an honor.
How many times have you testified in court?
60 or 65 in SDNY, ENDY, and the Northern District. Also New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Connecticut, Virginia.
We offer Dr. Hughes as an expert. What do you anticipate covering?
Why victims stay. Memory.
Have you been retained by the government?
Yes.
What is your hourly rate?
$600, $6,000 for the day in court.
Why do victims stay?
There are psychological bonds and the psychological consequences of the abuse.
What are the levels of fear?
It ranges from physical violence to butterflies. Violence doesn't have to happen all the time.
What is psychological violence?
Intimidation, throwing things, telling you what you can do and where you can go.
At this moment, the defense objected, and the judge said, hold on, I'm going to strike that last answer. Then continued.
What can be the role of sexual abuse?
It puts the victim in significant psychological fear.
Why does it prevent leaving?
Shame, degradation. They don't want to think about it.
What is emotional abuse?
Putting down our partner, feeling like a piece of crap.
What about financial dependence?
The abuse controls housing and transportation, taking away her laptop.
At this moment, the defense objected, and the judge sustained it.
Are you familiar with love bombing?
That honeymoon phase, the abuser showers her with gifts and affection to get her back.
Does the attempt to leave happen over time?
Yes, it takes multiple attempts.
Which is the most common coping mechanism?
Trying to work it out because of the trauma bond. You don't want to lose your partner.
Personal coping mechanisms. How does placating or appeasing work?
We're trying to avoid abuse.
What is minimization?
The victim says, maybe they had a bad day at work. Maybe they were intoxicated. It's a way to stay in the relationship, but it increases their risk. It's not a long-term strategy. It gets from one episode to next.
What about the power relation?
A person can have power as principal of a school. The victim asks, who is going to believe me?
When does the victim finally speak?
In a safe environment or after psychological help.
What type of language do victims use when they first speak of it?
They minimize. They are piecemeal. They remember the chipping paint on the ceiling, the smell of alcohol on the perpetrator's breath.
At this moment, they had a sidebar in the court. Then the cross-examination began.
Your clients, you observe them closely, their cognitive style.
Yes,
People don't fit into boxes, right?
there are categories.
But you have to listen to particular individuals, right?
I'm not divorced from my training.
When you do forensic work, you want a lot of sources of information, right?
If it's relevant,
You look at police reports, witness reports, and the like, correct?
correct.
You're familiar with malingering?
I am.
People can fabricate emotional responses, correct?
They can.
At this moment, the judge said, Mr. Bach, should we break here? And the defense said,
I don't have a good cliffhanger.
and they ended up going on break.
You are with the American Psychological Association, which says you should only render an opinion after an examination, right?
Where? This is a different role.
You have not gathered information about this case, right?
I am not rendering an opinion on any individual.
There's someone named Cassie, but you don't know what she said, right?
I don't.
You're testified across the river in EDNY, right?
Right.
And you say the same thing, even though the cases are different, correct?
It's to help the jurors understand.
But it's their job to consider their case, right? You don't publish data on the patients you have evaluated, do you?
It's confidential.
So I can't cross-check your experience, the basis of what you were saying, right? People might go to a civil lawyer to make a little money, right?
At this moment, the prosecution objected, and the judge said, let's move on.
In civil litigation, you might look for malingering, right? You gave a webinar about giving expert witness testimony, right?
Yes, for battered women.
Let me show you DX-.
At this moment, the judge asked for a sidebar.
Does this document refresh your recollection?
Let me look at it more closely. Yes?
The fourth part is about navigating cross-examination, right?
Yes?
Most of your income comes from court-related work, right?
No, maybe half.
You've raised your rate to $600,
It's been the same for some time.
but you've raised it.
Commensurate with others.
You've been retained hundreds of times, but you've never come into court and testified in defense of a man accused of a sex crime?
That's correct. I don't evaluate offenders.
You met with the prosecutor 6 times to prepare your testimony, right?
Correct.
At this moment, the prosecution asked for a sidebar and then continued.
Did you discuss the topics with the prosecutors?
With all due respect, it was mostly me educating them.
But you know nothing about the case. Were you advising them on how to present evidence in domestic violence cases? Didn't you help them write briefs?
At this moment, the prosecution asked for a sidebar. Once it was finished, they continued with a recross.
You reviewed some filings to the court in this case. It was all related to the subject of your expert testimony, right?
Correct.
In fact, we redacted.
You did.
You are a board-certified forensic psychologist, right?
Yes.
How many of those are there in New York State?
I think about 40.
At this moment, another recross happened.
Your defense work is almost entirely for victims of domestic violence, right?
I'm not sure that's true.
You worked with Mr. O'Brien Steele, who was defending a woman charged with reacting to domestic violence, right?
Yes.
And Mr. Steele decided not to use you after meeting with you.
At this moment, the judge interrupted and told the defense to move on. And so they did. There were no further questions, and the prosecution called its next witness.
The government calls George Kaplan. When did you work for Combs Enterprises?
2013 to 2015.
What fell under that holding company?
Clothing, liquor, entertainment. I was executive assistant to the chief operating officer.
Where did you work?
1710 Broadway, NYC.
What was your next position?
Executive assistant to the chairman, Mr. Combs, from September 2014 to September 2015.
Who did you report to?
Ms. Coram, KK, she essentially ran Mr. Combs's life.
Where did you report?
LA.
What did you do?
Carried his bags, made sure things were when he wanted them. As he trusted me more, he had me around more. I'd set up hotel rooms.
How many hours a week?
80 to 100 hours a week.
How much did you get paid?
$125,000 a year to start.
What did you do in the morning?
Make sure everything was in the bathroom, the breakfast cooked. He was recording a mixtape, so we worked late.
Who was security?
Uncle Paulie, D-Rock, and Ruben. Later, licensed security in the second half of 2015.
How frequently did you communicate with Mr. Combs?
Multiple times a day. Things could be found in the back, an iPad, drugs, whatever.
Did he threaten you?
He threatened my job.
How often?
Maybe monthly. He'd say he was only to be surrounded by the best people and that he wasn't. For example, he went me for a 1-liter water and I bought back 2 half-liters. He said, no,
How did you travel?
on his jet, or going in advance to make sure it's all set up.
How did you set up hotel rooms?
There was a bag. I unpacked it. Clothes, candle, Astroglide, baby oil.
Who bought this?
Often me.
In what cities did you set up hotel rooms?
Los Angeles, New York, and Miami. In LA, Mr. C, Bel Air, the Intercontinental.
In NY?
Trump by Columbus Circle. In Miami, the SLS
How was it booked?
and Frank Black, based on Biggie's Frank White.
Would you clean up rooms?
Yes, bottles of baby oil, Gatorade, once brown crystallized powder on the counter of the bathroom sink.
Why did you clean up? Not hotel staff.
It was implied, protect his public image. I was keen on doing that.
Explain.
At this moment, the defense objected and the judge overruled it.
I found hotels would sell photos to newspapers to shame guests.
Did he reach out to you from the room?
For food, clothes, sometimes drugs. I did it.
What drugs?
Dop kit.
Illegal drugs?
At this moment, the defense objected to the word illegal, and the prosecution rephrased the question.
What other drugs?
Advil, ketamine.
What's he ask for?
I picked up drugs for him, MDMA.
Who asked?
Mr. Combs in LA and Miami. In Miami, Mr. Combs asked me to call a person. He came and gave me a bag of pills, MDMA. I gave him cash. I gave the pills to Mr. Combs.
And in LA?
I went out and met the person in Hollywood. I gave money. He gave me a bag.
At this moment, the judge said, "We will break for the day." And those were all of the testimonies today in the Diddy trial. What did you think about the testimonies today? Who do you think did better overall today? The defense or the prosecution? Let me know in the comments down below, and I'll see you tomorrow.